Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim is a new installment in the Middle-earth series of Lord of the Rings films. Peter Jackson has involvement in this one. This is actually an animated prequel, an anime prequel at that, to the iconic and fantastic Peter Jackson trilogy of Lord of the Rings. The War of the Rohirrim takes place 183 years before the events chronicled in the original trilogy, in which a sudden attack by Wolf, a clever and ruthless Dunlending lord seeking vengeance for the death of his father, forces Helm Hammerhand and his people to make a daring last stand in the ancient stronghold of the Hornburg. Finding himself in an increasingly desperate situation, Hera, the daughter of Helm, must summon the will to lead the resistance against the deadly enemy intent on their total destruction. I don't know if I'm going to have a whole lot to say about the War of the Rohirrim. I thought that it was entertaining. I don't think it's fantastic or anything. I don't think it's like the greatest piece of Lord of the Rings cinema that's out there. I might even like it less than the Hobbit trilogy, which I think is severely underrated. And I'm really curious to see how Lord of the Rings fans are actually going to treat this movie, because that original trilogy is held in such high regard by almost everybody that when the Hobbit trilogy was being made, everybody was like, well, this isn't as good as Lord of the Rings. And no, it was never going to be. Just like how the War of the Rohirrim is never going to be either. That trilogy is like lightning in a bottle. That is a fantastic trilogy. We're never going to see a trilogy like that with that big of a grand epic scale and scope ever again. Maybe Dune, I don't know. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as the trilogy. I was expecting maybe a little bit better than a couple of the Hobbit movies, but even then, I don't really think so. I think it's definitely the weakest one in the Middle-earth saga. It's obviously not going to stand up to the trilogy, and it might not even stand up next to the Hobbit trilogy, but it's still a worthwhile tale to be told in this world. The first 40 minutes, I think, do take a little bit to get going. And for a while, I was like, this is really the best that they have to offer. And since it is an anime film, there are a couple of moments of glitches with the animation that really stick out like a sore thumb, but I did find myself entertained, and there's a lot more action in here once the movie gets going and once you see where the movie is going itself, where I had a blast with this movie. Look, I'm not the be all end all for Lord of the Rings lore. I love the trilogy. I've seen it numerous times. I've seen the Hobbit trilogy numerous times, but I'm not going to be one that sits there and be like, huh, yeah, that doesn't match up. I don't know. I'm just not that type of person anymore, because I know that various creators have different ideas as to what can go into a movie and how it relates to previous movies in a series, whatever it may be. But it did warm my heart when I heard some themes from Lord of the Rings, even though it's not Howard Shore doing the music in this. And it put a giant smile on my face, especially in some of those battle scenes and at the beginning when you hear some themes revolving around certain locations and characters. It was still just a fun blast. I think where this movie really shines with its animation is in the action scenes. They have to do a lot in these action scenes, and there's so many moments in this where I was like, well, what if this was live action? But I don't know if I really want to see this story translated into live action. I think that this is a story better told in anime, and I really don't have a reason as to why I think that. It's something I would definitely have to think more about. I feel like I'm giving an oral history report on Lord of the Rings at school or something because I'm saying that, but that's just really how I feel. There was a part of me where I was like, well, why isn't the army bigger? But again, it's animated. You can't throw a bunch of extra horses or soldiers into the background as much as you can with live action. But there is a part of me that wonders what this would be like live action. I don't know if it would deliver as much as this movie did, but as I said, it's a tale worth telling. You know, I'm not really behind the characters. There's really not much to them. It, like I said, it feels like it starts off when it starts off, it's kind of almost like that's the best you got type of feel, because it just feels like a generic bland type of story. But once you actually see the motivations of the characters and where the actual story goes and the battle scenes in anime and how gorgeous and beautiful this looks for an anime movie, I think anime is actually starting to become more mainstream now. I think you will actually really dig this type of Lord of the Rings movie. It's over 2 hours. It does feel like it is a bit long, but it's a movie that I had fun with, and I can't wait to revisit, even if I don't like it as much as the original trilogy or even the Hobbit trilogy. I still think it's a worthwhile tale in Middle Earth. While it does feel like it is a cash grab, while it does feel like Warner Brothers is like, let's make some more Lord of the Rings movies because we have to, because everything is a cash grab nowadays, it still felt like it was made with love and passion. And I think that that's the best praise I can give this movie. I will say I enjoyed The War of the Rohirrim with just over three-fourths of a bucket of popcorn. So if you guys have seen The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, let me know what you think of it in the comments section below. I will leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.